つまりずっと書斎にこもられていることにするというわけですか？
うん。そして書斎に入ることが許されているのは我ら三人、片翼の翼を許された使用人だけだ。
ということは僕たち3人で親方様の嘘を突き通さなくちゃならないわけか。
そうだ。親族の方々は親方様の具合や機嫌などを問い詰めてくるだろう。よどみなく答え、不審に思われることがなきよう注意するように。
はい、心得ました。
姉さんはすぐどじるからな。むしろ当日は風邪か何か理由をつけて欠席した方がいいんじゃない？
そんなひどい。
Kanan wasn't just saying that to make fun of Shauna. He simply wanted to release her from the stresses they would face that day, as they took on the critical task of custody Kinzo's death.
源氏様、シャノンがシフトに入る必要はないのでは？僕たちだけで十分やります。
それはできん。奥様から我ら三人は必ずシフトに入るようにとの厳命だ。
はい、やり遂げる覚悟です。
どじらないでよ。
どじりません。
Shannon grew sullen, and Kanon, oh, he shrugged. Then Genji told them that they weren't taking this seriously enough. Genji is all, hey, cut it out.
シャノン、カノン、すでにお使いする親方様はお亡くなりになっている。しかし、本当の意味でお亡くなりになるまで、我らの奉仕は続く。あの書斎は無人ではない。今なお、親方様がおられ、日々の研究に勤しまれているのだ。それを深く心得よ。
はい、源氏様。
Oh?
お父様がすでに亡くなっている。そんなバカな。
Let me guess. Kirie brought up that idea, didn't she?
まあまあ、例えの話や。武田信玄はその死を3年の間秘密にするよう遺言したっちゅう有名な故事があるやろ。
Wait, what?
知らんか？
そんな話もあったかしら。日本史はよくわかんないわ。
当時武田は織田や徳川との戦の真っ最中だった。そこで信玄が死んだなんて話になったら戦況に悪影響が出るやろ。
Oh.
そやから自分の死を3年隠すように遺言したんや。秀吉かてそうやで。主君織田信長の死を敵方に知られんように徹底的に情報規制を行い、素早く毛利と和解して中国大返しを行い明智を討ったんやないか。一方の柴田勝家はそこで失敗したんや。敵の上杉に信長の死を知られ、思わぬ反撃を受けて足止めを食らい、その後の秀吉との後継者争いで大きく遅れを取ることになったんや。
Wait, so let me get this straight. There was actually an emperor called Hideyoshi? Hideyoshi, who had a strong fascination with the commanders of the Sengoku period, who would always show off his knowledge whenever he got the chance. Wasting slightly, Eva made him get back to his point.
早い話が、わしは去年の親族会議からずっと違和感を持っとったんや。
あれは私やルドルフが遺産の話をしてたのを廊下のお父様に聞かれてしまって、それで。
そこや。夏井さんや使用人たちはどこそこにお父さんがいた、 不機嫌そうだったと口を揃えたが、わしら親族は誰一人お父さんを見てないんやで。
もしあなたの想像が本当なら、どういうこと？兄さんが遺産の独り占めを狙ってるということ？
もちろん死んだことを隠すなんてかなり危険なことや。果たして遺産を独り占めするためだけにそれだけのことをクラウスさんがやってのけるのか、わしも確信は持てん。だが可能性はある。
確かに兄さんは昔から強欲よ。兄弟全員でと受け取ったものを着服するなんてよくあることだったわ。
クラウスさんはわしら兄弟の中では一番裕福なはずや。そんなクラウスさんがお父さんの死を隠すなんて危険を冒してまで遺産の独り占めを目論むとは、わしにはちょいと信じられんのだがな。だがそう疑いたくなるくらい去年の親族会議はおかしかったんやで。
Eva and the others were painfully aware of how reckless it would be to try to see Kinzo knowing that he was in a bad mood. So, ever since hearing about Kinzo getting into a terrible mood during last year's family conference, they never actually actively tried to contact him. And that was why, until this very day, it hadn't occurred to them to find it suspicious that Kinzo never showed himself.
確かに疑ってみる価値はあるわね。でも本当に兄さんがお父様の死を隠すなんて大それたことをするかしら。傲慢なくせにおかしなところで小心な人よ。そんな一世一代の大博打を本当にするかしら。
いずれにせよ今年の会議ではきっちりお父さんのご尊厳を拝謁した方がええやろな。
非常に良くない噂さ。どうやら兄貴の事業は俺たちの想像を超えて手ひどく失敗してるらしい。相当の損失を抱えてて表向きを取り繕うだけで精一杯らしい。
つまりクラウスさんからお金を借りるのはとても難しいことというわけね。
ああ、泣けてくる。
クラウスさんにとって経済的に困窮していることはある種の弱みにはならないの？
弱み？そりゃ投資家は超えてるから投資家なんだぜ。実は金欠だなんてことになったら誰も見向きもしねえ。
信用第一の世界なのね。
Kiria smiled thinly. Rudolph was taken aback by that smile. He figured out his plan, which involved raising money to get him out of his current mess by borrowing from the affluent Kraus, would all come to nothing now that they knew Kraus himself was in a financial trouble.
クラウスさんの信用はクラウスさんのこれからのお仕事に必要だろうけれど、私たちのこれからには必要ないわ。
兄貴をゆするってのか。
私だったら嫌よ。血のつながった兄弟を貶めるなんて。
Rudolph felt a shiver go up his spine at Kiria's cold smile. At times, Kiria was able to throw away all compassion and think in an extremely ruthless manner. Whenever he felt that, Rudolph thought about how he never wanted to have her as his enemy.
他に金策があるなら、お兄さんを脅迫なんてしたくないものだわ。
あったら悩んだりしねえ。
選択の余地のない問題で悩むのは人生の無駄だと思わない？
Rudolph stopped talking, folded his arms, and lowered his gaze. Even now, Rudolph had a kind of fear of Kraus due to his violence when they were young. And now Rudolph would be the one to threaten him. That meant Rudolph would also have to fight against his childhood trauma. So to give her husband a little push, Kitty smiled reassuringly, and perhaps coldly.
つくづく信用で仕事をしたくないものだわ。信用ほど積み上げるのに苦労して失う時が一瞬なんて割の合わない投資はない。
そうだな。世の中100の信用より1枚の診察だ。
クラウスさんが大きな損失を出していると言っても、私たちの急場をしのぐためのお金くらいは十分用意できるはず。もちろんクラウスさんのこれまでの信用を換金してお金を作ってもらうことになるけれど。
こいつはやばい話になるな。
やばい。
十分な備えが必要よ。私たちには時間も失敗も許されてない。そうだったわね。私の京都の友人たちにそういうのを洗うのが上手な人たちがいるわ。あまり世話になりたくない連中なんだけど、一度会ってもらってもいい？領収書は切れないけど、きっと投資に見合うだけのものを調べ上げてくれるわ。
ええ。マリアも元気よ。そちらは大きなお世話よ。ありがとう。え？さあ、スケジュールを見てみないとわからないけど。
When Rosa was talking to Rudolph over the phone, Rosa rarely received calls from her older siblings, so she braced herself for something serious.
実はな、次の親族会議についてちょいと兄貴抜きで意見を調整したいんだ。
エヴァ姉さんとルドルフ兄さんと私の3人で頭痛の増えそうな話ね。
電話じゃ詳しくは話せない。だがお前にとって聞く価値のある話のはずだ。
それはいい話？
もちろん姉貴は乗り気だぜ。
姉さんが？
ローザには賛同してほしいだけだ。金を出せとかそういう話じゃない。俺たち3人が全員結束してることがまず大事なんだ。わかるな。
Rosa let out a sigh. She did so because, in the past, when Rudolph and Eva got into a fight with Kraus, they often used a tone like this to drag her into it.
先に教えて。その話は私も得をする話よね。
ああ、俺たち3人で2億ずつせしめる。うまくいけばそれ以上も引っ張れるかもしれない。お前の借金それでチャラだろ。
それはいつまでにせしめられるの？
もちろん年度内だ。俺も助かる。姉貴も助かる。そしてローザも助かるってわけだ。三方丸く収まる。
姉さんが話に乗るくらいには勝算があるのね。
話を聞く気になったか。ちょいと急だが、次の日曜日の19時に銀座のお前のお気に入りの喫茶店で会おう。俺と姉貴の予定がそこでしか合わねえ。問題ないか？2
億捻出できる話なら聞かないわけにはいかないわ。では次の日曜日の午後7時にレオポルドで。
マリアちゃんによろしくね。連れてきてもいいんだぜ。
あの子の前でお金の話はやめて。
She set the receiver down with a clunk, a little violently. Apparently, either Eva or Rudolph had gotten a hold of one of Kraus's weak points. They were probably thinking of threatening him with that at the next family conference, and forcing him to pay money. Even before hearing the details, she knew full well that it could be nothing good. But even so, this was a once-in-a-lifetime chance to pay back her large debts. Rosa took a notebook out of her handbag and went to fill in the day she would be meeting with Rudolph and Eva. Then, she frowned and smacked herself hard in the forehead. Because written there was DZL with Maria. Maria was in her room, playing around excitedly with Sakutaro and the others. It was because her mother was going to take her to the amusement park that had just been built. Dell's Neyland on Sunday. Looking at the clock, Rosa saw that it was just past 9 o'clock at night. Yeah, I can see that DZL is like the Romaji for Delsneyland, if I were to think about it. Delsneylando, I think. Maria was breaking the lights out of the room. After covering her face and agonizing for a while, Rosa stood up and stomped over to Maria's room. The room was almost certainly a mess as well. At least tonight, that was convenient. As she stood outside the door to Maria's room, listening to the happy laughter seeping through, Rosa's face twisted in anguish once again, and she looked at the floor. Then, when she raised her head again, her brow was furrowed, and her face had become an ugly expression of anger. Oh, thank God I don't have to experience that. It is good that it cut right there, I guess. The weather wasn't looking very good. The weekend forecast had said that there was a high likelihood of a tropical cyclone growing into a large typhoon. If it was true that premonitions tended to be right, then this year's family conference will probably take place in absolutely horrible weather. In fact, Natsuki wished that a typhoon large enough to stop boat travel to the island would seal Rokkenjima away forever. If that happened, she would be able to keep Kinzo's death hidden as long as she wanted. Alright, fresh new beginnings.
台風が彼らを永遠に遠ざけてくれればいいのに。
Natsuki let out a deep sigh. Just doing that made her headache throb. As the day of the family conference approached, the intensity of her headache just kept on increasing. At that time, the phone rang. Natsuki turned the television off and picked up the receiver. It's probably the siblings. It's part of their plan of trying to extort money from them. Knowing, like, well, not knowing, but thinking that Kinzo is dead, so they're doing something with their plan here.
はい。
お休みのところ、申し訳ございません。源氏でございます。
Hey there, Genji.
何事ですか？
奥様に凱旋からお電話でございます。ですが、名前をお名乗りになられません。
名乗らない？
はい。先方は話せばわかるとは申しておりますが、いかがしますか？いたずらかもしれません。
どんな相手です？
おそらく若い男性ではないかと。
A young man.
お心当たりはございませんか？
若い男性。
Natsuki didn't have a clue who that might be. In the first place, there was no one amongst her acquaintances who would do something as rude as refusing to state their name. On top of that, a young man? Natsuki thought that as a wife, it wasn't right for her to have connections with men other than her husband, much less a young man. It might be considered suspicious. It might be, well, even young people can be part of businesses. Maybe it has something to do with like businesses and such. Maybe it is one of the business people that that was like here and talking to Krause and Natsuki. And they saw that Natsuki was a much better businesswoman than Krause, so they are deciding to take her away from Krause so that they can have much more success. The phone call suddenly seemed like something dirty. But at the same time, she was more interested than ever in what this person wanted to tell her. Cause, you know, when I look at Krause and Natsuki, I see Krause as the book smarts. He knows how to do numbers and all that fancy schmancy business stuff, except dealing with people. And Natsuki definitely seems to know a lot more about how to deal with the business people than Krause. Like, she is suspicious and such. So I would pin Natsuki as street smarts and such. You know, because she is part of the hood. Could it be that there was some kind of trouble related to Krause's business? Whatever there was some particular reason that they needed to talk to Krause's wife instead of Krause directly. Yeah, like I said. No matter what the message, it was her duty as a wife to hear it and relay it to Krause. If it was some strange kind of extortion attempt, she just had to firmly refuse and inform Krause that she had received a phone call like that. If the call was something irritating, then she just had to tell Genji to never again send her a call if the caller refused to state their name. Thinking this, Natsuki told Genji, who was offering to hang up after all, to connect her to this person. And she set up the receiver now. Hold on, let me do something here before. Alright, I think that everything is good here. I was checking some stuff, so let's see. After a short while, the phone rang again.
もしもし。
This wasn't the internal line. It was the external phone line, which Genji had transferred to her. So it should already been connected directly to the mysterious man. However, the person on the other end didn't respond to her. Not liking this at all, Nancy spoke one more time, sounding displeased.
もしもし。誰ですか。名を名乗りなさい。
She heard something that sounded like a sigh. She automatically gulped. After remaining silent for a little longer, the man finally answered. That was the first time the man had spoken. Valor?
何の話です。あなたは誰ですか。
The voice certainly did sound like that of a young man. But it was a bit hard to figure out much about a person just by their voice over the phone. Yeah, he sounds like a young man, alright. He sounds like Valor, from the looks of it. What the fuck are you doing here, Valor? Being all mysterious and such. He sounds like a young adult. But he might actually have been a middle school age. Or an adult whose voice still hadn't deepened. In fact, I've been premature to assume this person was a male at all. However, one thing was certain. Though this person spoke to Natsuki in such a familiar and casual manner, Natsuki had absolutely no clue who it was.
"何を言っているのか分かりかねます。あなたは誰ですか。そして私に何の用ですか。それが言えないなら興味はありません。切りますよ。
俺の望みはあんたに思い出してもらうことだ。
何を思い出せというのですか。あなたなど知りませんし、思い出すような心当たりもありません。
Beller, is this your way of trying to learn about your past sin? To ask other people about your sin? To remember what the fuck you did?
そんなこと言うなよ。俺はあんたの子供じゃないか。
What?
何ですって？あなたは何を言っているんです？
そんな悲しいことを言うなよ。母さん。
And then suddenly word thrust itself mercilessly into the depths of Natsu's heart and started churning it about. In Natsu's entire life, no one had ever said anything so unsettling to her. In her bewilderment, Natsu felt her heart beat so loudly that it felt like it would explode.
あなたに母と呼ばれる覚えはありません。何のつもりか知りませんが、もう切りますよ。
俺は復讐するために帰ってきたんだ。あんた19年前の罪。
I'm sorry, what did you say? 19 years ago? Eh? His mind went blank. And beyond the sound of the wind howling outside the window, she must suddenly heard the roar of the sea from that day.
あんた、本当はもう思い出してる。
何の話かわからないと言っています。もう二度とかけないでください。
19年前にあんたがした仕打ちを俺は忘れない。だからあんたを呪うためにあえてそれでも、いやだからこそ俺はあんたを母さんと呼ぶよ。もうすぐ親族会議じゃないか。俺も母さんの子供だからね。会議の日に帰るよ。19年ぶりにあんたに復讐するために。
Click. Breathing so hard her shoulders heaved, Natsu slammed the receiver down and hung up. Then she hit the phone violently, knocking the receiver off, so that there was no chance of that man calling back. I can hear the roar of the sea. The voice I'm hearing from beyond the howling wind must be... No matter how I cover my ears, the headache won't. Completely pale, Natsu kept shivering as though cold. That voice, 19 years ago, calling her mother.
Ramda, いる？ええ、いるわよ。ベルンが望めばどこにでも。じゃあ台所の床下収納に入ってて。ぬかみその壺の中でもいいわ。ああ、私を味噌につけてかじってくれるの？でもそれなら蜂蜜につけてほしいものだわ。お返しにベルンは砂糖水で煮込んであげる。せめて砂糖醤油とみりんにして。それで何？復唱要求でも気取っちゃう？そうよ。この夏日の電話のやりとりは事実？
The Delta grinned unpleasantly, as though sizing Ben Costello up. She was probably trying to tease Ben Costello by taking her time on the repetition quest.
復唱拒否。さーてね、拒否か応じるかどうしよっかな。それを聞 決めるのはゲームマスターの私の自由だし、その判断をいつするかさえ自由。
Alright, you two, knock it off. I know that you're trying to doing this act in order to confuse me and at the same time offer me hints and such. Just get to the freaking point.
青字宣言でない限り、あんたに答える義務はないしね。そういうこと。今はせいぜい夏日の19年前に一体どんな秘密がとワクワクテカテカしてなさい。
Of course, this fishy telephone call occurs before October 4th, 1986. This is still before the time of the game, so it's not necessary to question whether it's true or false in the first place.
ゲームマスターのあんたがわざわざ見せた以上、何かの布石だと思っとくわ。騙しかもしれないけれど、一応あんたのこの察しては記憶に留めておく。このカードを伏せたまま場に出すってやつね。まあ、いいか。何？ダイレクトアタック。
It has only been conked on the head. Lambda Delta was bewildered. Yeah, just use a frying pan and bonk her on the head. But perhaps this incomprehensible exchange was funny to her, because she quickly went back to giggling.
これであんたのゲーム版の準備は十分？そうよ。それじゃあいよいよゲームを進めるわよ。1986年10月4日にね。
Next time on Umineko Naku Koro.
Chiru.
何度目の1986年10月4日かしらね。無限の魔女か。ベアトリーチェ、やはり恐ろしい子だわ。ベルン側は何か行動ある？ないわよ。あんたが副賞要求に応えないならそれで終わり。ターンエンドね。スタート。クリーンアップドロー。さあ来たれ。1986年10月4日。
やっぱりこのバラ庭園は圧巻だぜ。
You scared me there, Beller. I tried to think of some stuff over here. Don't be sneaking up on me here.
6年前よりさらにすごくなってやがる。こんなのが似合わなんて羨ましいぜ。
んなことはねえぜ。私にとっちゃ船着き場まで遠くて邪魔なだけなんだけどな。
Yeah, the rose garden is wonderful as usual. Yeah.
それは贅沢な悩みだね。
毎朝バラと挨拶してから投稿。素敵素敵。こんなにいっぱいのバラみんなと挨拶してたら遅刻しちゃうね。
演者は残念だな。お腹壊しやすいんだって。
Yeah, the shame that Angie couldn't come here. Her with her stomach problems. Also, speaking of stomach problems, I guess I'll just, you know, go to the bathroom, just think on some stuff. I mean, clean my body